Hi everybody, I'm Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do click the red link and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that little bell so that you get notified whenever I put up a new video. I do a quick tip Tuesday video, and along with that we've been busy making bags, we've been busy making quilts, and I've got a new one that I'll be showing you very soon. But in the meantime, the one hanging behind me is an example of one of our quick projects that we'll be doing later this month. Except for I'm going to be doing this one with Kaffe Facets collection, and I am just absolutely in love with this. It's a quick and easy quilt that you can make in about 3 hours. So this is going to be fun, and I'm getting really excited to make a quilt because, you know, every once in a while we just need a fix on sitting at that sewing machine and getting something done. In the meantime, today what we're going to be starting is our Maxwell bag. This one is mine and I absolutely love it. It's got my day planner in it so that I can take it back and forth. This has become my work bag. Everything that I need to take into the house at night with me goes in this bag, and everything I need to take into the studio with me goes in this bag. When I made the bag, I actually made my straps a little bit longer than what the pattern called for, and I really do like it, but I think I may have made them a little bit too long. I think I'm actually going to follow the directions the next time I make it and make my straps the exact same size. If you would like to make this bag with me, there are kits available on my website. My website is www.missmarkersquilts.com, and I will put a link below so that you can get right to it. I've got it put together in a couple of different ways. You can purchase the Notions kit, and the Notions kit will include all of the notions that you need to make the bag. So your Timtex that we need in the bottom, these absolutely adorable purse feet, your Annie Soft and Stable, along with all of the proper cording to make this part of the bag, and your pattern. The second kit that I have available is just the fabric, and isn't this beautiful? I am so in love with this fabric. This fabric is designed by Amy Reber for Free Spirit Fabrics, and I just love it. So if you'd like to make this with us, please pop on out to my website and pick up your Notions kit and your fabric kit. I just love them. If you would like to see exactly how I made my Maxwell bag, please stay tuned. I have picked out the fabrics that I'm going to use. These are the fabrics. The blue is the tabs, the end pockets, and the inside pocket. The blue is the inside pockets, the little tabs, and the end pocket. The green is the inside of it. I liked the fact that this blue would really show up on the inside of the bag. So this is the inside. The purple with the blue, or I'm sorry, it's like a fuchsia pink. That is going to be the handles and the bottom of the bag. And I purposely picked this one for those two because I thought with them being very dark, if they got dirty, they aren't going to show really easily. And then this is the main part of our bag. So the first thing I did once I got all my fabrics picked out is I then took and cut out all of the pieces of stabilizer that I needed. Now you can see I folded them over, I pinned them together and folded them over so that you can't see the measurements, but all your measurements are on your pattern, so no problems there. Okay, my next step is I am now going to start quilting it, and I am going to actually be doing it on my domestic machine. So I'll show you those steps, and I will link a video that shows the step by step exactly how I get it ready to quilt, and you'll be able to see that. So I'll just put a little card up so that you can see that. So now that we've got all of our Maxwell bag quilted, which you can see, mine's all done, I'm going to set that aside, And now I'm going to get into the templates that come with our pattern. This is the outside middle template, A and B, and then we have the inside middle template, A, and here's B. So what we have to do on these is we've got to cut on this dotted line on both of these, and then what we're going to do is tape it together just like this. All right, hopefully you can see. I can see right through the pattern to know that I'm, lining it up properly. What I'll probably do is only cut one. So let's do that. I'm gonna grab my scissors. Now these are just my junk paper scissors because we obviously do not want to use our good scissors. And what I'm gonna do is just cut this off. And I'm gonna be careful about it because I do want it to line up the way it's supposed to. Here we go. There we go. All right, so now my pieces are, oh, that went right on the floor. So now you can see my pieces. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just line these right up. And I'm just gonna put a little piece of Scotch tape. So I just got a little piece of Scotch tape that I'm gonna put there. And then I'm gonna line this one up. You can see it doesn't line up perfectly, but I'm gonna do my best to make it line up. And I'm gonna just put a few more pieces down. Then I'm gonna flip it over and I'm going to put some tape on the back here. Now that that's done, all right, so I'm gonna start with my inside template because I always like to start with the inside piece first. That way if I mess it up, it doesn't really show. So one of the biggest things that you've gotta make sure is that when you place it down that you've got fabric all the way around it, okay? So I've got my piece placed. I've checked all 4 of my sides to make sure that I've got fabric all the way around it so that I know that my pattern is placed correctly. So the next thing I'm going to do is just get some pins in it. All right, and at first I'm just going to pick it up and put them towards the corners. Where the corners are is really the biggest spot that you want to make sure that you are definitely got those pieces down and they're pinned pretty securely, so you can see, and just gradually going around it. I do have to pick it up though in order to push the pin the rest of the way through. It's no biggie. I just want you to know that you are going to be picking it up a little bit here and there. All right, I'm just going to turn it around for ease of pinning for me. And just make sure I keep the pins inside my lines. And again, just making certain that these points are pretty covered. The next thing I am going to do is I am going to cut this with my paper scissors because I don't want to cut through this paper with my good fabric scissors. So I'm going to cut out my 2 inside pieces and then I'll cut out my 2 outside pieces, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with it. So I'll come back when all 4 pieces are cut out. Now I'm going to be working on the outside of the bag first. So I'm cutting these out in preparation for steps a little bit farther down in the process of putting these bags together. But if I'm going to cut these out, I might as well cut out the inside too. So since I got to cut out the outside, might as well cut out the inside, and then I'm done with that step. So I will be back when all 4 of those are cut out. According to the directions, the next thing that we have to do is trim our outside pockets. So these are my 2 outside pockets, and then what we're going to do is take our inside pocket lining, which this is my lining, and we're gonna sew it together. But before I do that, I want to give you a warning. On these inside pockets, or I'm sorry, on these outside pocket pieces, make certain that when you are trimming them that you are very careful, because these are the slivers that I got off of my pieces, and what that tells me is based on the directions, there's not a lot of extra fabric, but there is enough. So just be careful. So now that I've gotten these two trimmed, I'm going to place right sides together, and I'm going to sew these inside pocket linings to my it's the outside pocket lining to the pocket piece. So I'm going to sew these two together, and then I'll be back. So the next step told you to put right sides together. This is the inside lining, and sew them, then trim it, and then once you trim it, you need to top stitch it. When I did go to top stitch it, I did change my thread back to my quilting color thread. And the other thing that I did was I used my little wonder clips to keep these together, because one of the things I cannot stand is when I end up with part of my pocket lining showing on the front. So you can see it ended up lining it up really nicely. I left those on there for a few minutes, and it just kind of gave it a nice crease so that I could go ahead and sew it. So I will pull out my directions and go on to the next step. I need to make a mark on the outside end piece of the bag so that I know where to trim it, so that it angles in the correct manner. I could do it on the right side. In fact, I did it with a chalk right there. Maybe you can see it. And then I decided, well, what I'm gonna do, because this is all I'm doing is gonna trim it, is I'm gonna flip it over. So I'm gonna measure according to the directions, and I'm just gonna make a mark here and a mark here. And then what I have to do per the directions is just trim it up. Now, according to the directions, what we're gonna do is we're gonna place our ruler here, and at this bottom corner right here, whoops, sorry, you can't see the bottom corner, sorry about that. So we're gonna put the top of our ruler here, and the bottom of our ruler is gonna be right here against this edge, and we're just gonna trim it up. So I'm gonna trim one side, and then I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm going to do the exact same thing to this side. Then what I'm gonna do is do it to the other piece. So that happens to all four pieces. Then once both pieces. There's not four, there's two. Then once I get that done, then I'm gonna have to take my pocket, and I'm going to be putting my pocket on this piece. And the pocket is also going to need to be trimmed up. So I will get that done. So now I've done that with all those pieces. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to just set this on here. Now remember, this is my outside pocket. I'm gonna line these all up so that I'm good and centered and I am placed correctly. And then what I truly am gonna do is I'm gonna pin these together, and then I will line them up and trim them off. Okay. That's what my bag looks like on the ends. I'm going to do it to this piece, and then we're going to start putting our bag together. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is take this over to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to baste all the way around both of these pieces so that I can make certain that they stay together and in place when I'm sewing the rest of the bag together. This is not a step that you're going to want to miss because you've got so many layers here. If we don't get it basted down, there's a good chance that it will slip when we're putting the bag together. I'm starting to put my bag together. So here is my outside end pocket, and you can see it's lined. And then here's my base of my bag, and of course the end and pocket again. Now, one of the things that happened when I made mine was I didn't stitch through all the layers, through the fabric, the soft and stable, and the Timtex. According to the directions, I was supposed to quilt that too. Do I know if it's going to make a difference? No, I don't. It seems pretty stable, but I really think that when I make this bag again, I will make sure that I stitch it all the way through to the Timtex too. Only so that, see, I can get this little bit of puckering. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. It was completely my fault. I missed it, and I was getting carried away with quilting, so I just, I didn't catch that. So consequently, this should have been stitched all the way through, and it wasn't. So the next thing I'm going to do is sew my ends according to the directions, and then I'm going to reach in front of you, and then I will be putting my front, it will be like, well, it'll be this great big huge U like this, and I will put that, bring this down so you can see it. I will put that right around my bag according to the directions, okay? So again, my next step is I need to sew these down, then I'm gonna attach this. I will tell you that these Wonder Clips have been a lifesaver on this bag. I could use pins up until this point, but now what's happening is this this Timtex is so stiff that I really do need to hold it together with the clips. So like I said, next up I'm going to sew these together into a U, and then I will be pinning the front and back of my bag to the bottom and the sides. Here we go. You can see that I've already put the bottom and the side on one side of the bag, and now I'm going to pin the other. And if you look in the background, you're going to see Lindsay in a couple spots, and you're going to see Boone, because I was busy doing this one day while they were in the studio with me. Again, I used the Wonder Clips. I'm going to show you exactly how I pinned it together. When it gets down to the corners, it kind of gets a little funky, not quite so easy. So the Wonder Clips came in really, really handy. So I lined up the second side of the bag, just lining up the side panel with either the front or the back panel. I'll put a Wonder Clip at the very top and then again at the side, just working my way carefully around so that it's secure and it's lined up well. And I'm just going to keep right on going. It did take a few minutes to do this, but it wasn't difficult. The only place, as I said earlier, that got a little bit fussy was when I got down to the bottom corners. And I am going to show you what I did. I also worked back and forth from one side to the other so that I was able to evenly distribute it around the bag. You can see Lion's gymnastic leg there in the background. Lindsay busy working on the long arm. We're teaching her how to do it. And now here I come to a corner, and I think you can see it. What you're gonna do is just kind of manipulate it around that corner, going slowly, and I do suggest that you pin quite often, and you're gonna see I have quite a few pins or Wonder Clips, not pins, in mine. So hang on just a second, you're gonna see some more. Yep, here I am at the other corner. And again, just clipping it easily together. And I'm just going to keep right on going around that corner. And now that I'm towards the bottom, I'm going to go around the other corner and then go back again. So that method of working back and forth between the sides really, really did help out a lot. I would strongly suggest that you do yours the same way, just very slowly easing it all in. And I'm just going to let you sit here and watch me ease it all in. Now it's time to put our bag underneath our presser foot and put the last middle section on. Now, one thing that I did do was I backstitched on this every time I got to a beginning point. I made sure that I was able to backstitch. I did move the wonder clips right off of it on my way along. You can kind of see it. I made it easier to kind of fold the bag in half. Just made it a little bit more comfortable to be sewing with, and I felt like I had more control. So you can see the other side of the bag right there, and here I am sewing right on down. Now my seam width was just under 2, and I did take my time. I did not try to do this fast. I wanted to slowly sew and make it, pretty simple. It wouldn't be fun to have to be ripping this out. So I wanted to just maintain control, not contain, but maintain control of it as I sewed it. Now here comes the corner. This was really the only part of making this entire bag that was fussy at all. Wasn't difficult. I just slowed myself down, and you're going to see that just taking a few steps at a time, few stitches, and then moving the bag itself so that it went easier underneath the presser foot. So you're going to see me do that. You can see me move it around on the side there. And please do note that my fabric needle is in the needle down position, so that as I stitch, when I stop, my needle's going to stay in the down position so it's locked into the bag, which makes it a little bit easier. Now, sorry about my hand there. It was a little difficult to get this shot, but I think I move it so that you can see it well enough. So I'm just going to let you watch me go around the corners. You're going to see here that I actually had to lift up my presser foot and just move things around a little bit to be able to get it to perfectly lay flat. And I ended up going back and stitching again. Don't feel like that's not okay to do, because it absolutely is. Now, if you've sewn too far into the bag though and your seam is too wide, you're going to have to make sure you take those stitches out, okay? So now you can see me really just going right around the corner, and it's going much, much smoother now. I did find that I had to pick up the bag and manipulate it around a little bit, but that Annie Soft and Stable is so easy to stitch through that I really didn't have any problems at all. And remember again that my stitch length was around or just below 2 on my Bernina. So I have a pretty small stitch length because I do want it to be pretty tight. So here we go, and now I'm across the back. Now or across the bottom. So what you're going to do when you do the other side is just repeat what you did the first time. The next thing that we have to do according to the directions is we've got to trim the bulk of those seams. That's a big seam there, and we've got an awful lot of material with the Soft and Stable and the fabric. So what I'm going to do is grab my favorite Karen K. Buckley scissors. I'm going to show them to you, and I'm just going to trim my edges. And we are now done with the outside of our Maxwell bag. Stay tuned for the next segment of the Maxwell bag, where we'll be doing the inside and our handles. Can't wait to see you then. Bye.